He called himself the Devil and allegedly hanged a woman from a 17-story balcony. Jurors heard chilling testimony in court today in the sex crimes trial of Sean Diddy Combs. A longtime friend of Cassie Ventura took the stand and accused Sean Combs of violent outbursts, death threats, and instilling fear. I'll break it all down with crime reporter Elizabeth Milner, who was in court to cover the whole thing. Hey everyone, another legal alert about crime and the lawn. If you took the birth control pill Dipropa and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal cord tumor called a meningioma, you may be eligible to sue. He's come up a lot in testimony. Were there messages between Combs and Drock that were part of the conversation even before the first witness took the stand? So what a lot of people don't realize is that when we get into the courtroom in the morning, more often than not, there's arguments outside of the presence of the jury. Then the jury is later brought in after these arguments. And so the jury was able to see all of these messages. They were present, while this stipulation was read between the parties. So first thing, right off the top this morning, before we had the first witness take the stand, so nobody's on the witness stand during this, but the government presents this stipulation between the parties. It pertains to March 5th of 2024, when Homeland Security investigation seized a cell phone from Diddy's Miami home, which is the Two-Star Island property. And so the judge admitted these exhibits. And so what we saw from the next exhibit was this preliminary device report, and it confirmed that Apple IDs, Diddy's Twitter, and Snapchat were, I guess, extracted from the devices. And so we saw some text messages going back to September 13th of 2025, which the owner, which we presume to be Diddy or Sean Combs, said, "Hit my shorty, ask her what's going on." Drock writes, "Okay." And again, I'm paraphrasing here because those messages went by super fast. But the owner of this device and cell phone again, who we presume to be, Diddy said, "I thought you were coming to the concert next week." Drock says something along the lines of "okay." And then the owner of this device said, "Call me." Because when we're seeing these messages displayed, it doesn't say Diddy or PD or love none of that. It literally says owner. So that's why we presume it to be Diddy. And then Drock writes, "She wants to see you cast, calling the studio, looking for you." The owner of these devices say, "Okay, it's time for the ice. What's Cass doing?" Drock responds, "I was just checking on her. Cass was eating. She wants to see you talking to Cash, just gave her an ice pack." The owner says, "Does the eye look better?" And then Drock responded, "Rio and Justin saw her eye. We said a fight broke out in the club." And so we presume that obviously the cast in this situation is Cassie Ventura. But it seemed like kind of the gist of these text messages were just about Diddy checking up on Cassie after some type of incident had occurred. Again, this was from September 13th of 2015. And whatever this incident was, resulted in her having an injury that probably was bad enough that it needed an ice pack. And so I think the government was just kind of putting these in. They didn't add much context outside of just showing these messages. So possibly maybe the jury was confused on why we're seeing this with no witness to kind of break it all down, but that those were admitted today before a witness took the stand. So I think that's important. It's important because if you're saying this is a racketeering case and that he was using his assistants and his bodyguards to further criminal activity, and you see him essentially using his bodyguard to maybe cover up evidence of a violent episode, maybe evidence of force that was used for sex trafficking, and that he uses his security to constantly check up on Cassie, maybe cover up what was really going on, you could see the value of it. Also makes me wonder, is D-Rock going to take the stand? I mean, who else is going to take the stand? We got another, 4 weeks of trial. It'll be very interesting to see who else may take the stand. If you're talking about a racketeering conspiracy, and you know there's a lot of people a part of this alleged criminal enterprise, you have to wonder if other people in the inner circle are going to testify against him. Okay? So talking text. Putting that aside, talking digital evidence, the first witness of the day was forensic video expert Frank Piazza. Now, my understanding is that his testimony was centered around key pieces of digital evidence, really, the 2016 tape, the footage of Sean Combs purportedly beating up Cassandra Venture. Again, she's victim one in this case. By the way, they say that that was after a freak-off, so it helps with the sex trafficking claim. And the whole gist of it is the video footage we have. The video footage that the jury will see, is it real? Is it accurate? Is it authentic? What did Frank Piazza have to say about all that? Yeah. So it was interesting kind of the way Frank Piazza was kind of breaking everything down. So to your point, Jesse, he is a forensic audio and video editor, and he has his own company where he does consulting, authentication services, etc. And that has been going back the past 25 years because it began in 2000. But he's been doing this type of work at least in the earliest of 1995, where I was just a wee little baby around that time. But as far as, just what he had did for this case, and I thought what was an interesting point that the government said, right at the beginning of his testimony, is that normally he's a defense witness that is testifying. So this time it's a little different. He was retained by the government, but as far as what he did, he had analyzed cell phone video surveillance video pertaining to the hotel incident in 2016, but also the sex videos, as he calls them, or the freak-off videos that we presume them to be, that were provided by the government. And so, Frank Piazza explained that he analyzed 5 cell phone and surveillance videos. It was 3 different camera angles from the surveillance video, and then 2 cell phone videos, compiled together. And so, as far as the cell phone videos go, and this was something that Officer Israel Flores alluded to when he was testifying, where he had explained that he had recorded the surveillance system that I guess was inside the Intercontinental Hotel, back in, I guess, the security server, and it was recorded on an iPhone 6, according to Piazza. He says that there is color issues and lighting issues because of just, I guess, the old model of this particular phone, but the cell phone can still record an entire video. And so we saw an exhibit, that being the surveillance video from the hotel incident that was captured on the cell phone. So you can see kind of a little shaky in the hand, but you could also see Diddy hitting Cassie, kicking her and dragging her. And then he was explaining kind of the frame rates, them being about 30 frames per second. And his conclusion of this was that the cell phone video was not manipulated or tampered with, and that the cell phone recording was from the native system, and it captured clean video from the surveillance system. Now, as far as the surveillance video goes, he did admit that there were some speed playback issues, and it actually played back faster than normal. He explained that there were areas kind of motion activity, which again, Israel Flores had talked about during his testimony, that the cameras at the Intercontinental Hotel are motion activated. And Piazza explained that there were issues with the timestamp. So he said he was able to correct the speed issue and the distortion of the video as best as he could, and Piazza was able to slow down the video because, again, he said that the playback, played a little bit faster than normal. And so, he says the video he compiled together was the cell phone video surveillance video playing at a speed that would have been in real time. And so he says his conclusion as far as the surveillance video goes is that it wasn't manually altered. There are no anomalies going on to the file, and that the surveillance video accurately plays back the underlying footage. And so we see an exhibit of the corrected surveillance video, but only the first 15 seconds of that. Another exhibit of the continued video playing for about 55 seconds, and just more exhibits of them just kind of playing the surveillance video that we've seen a bunch of different times. In that, Piazza was explaining that the timestamp kind of corrected itself, and that the motion activity kind of embedded into the camera system caused it to jump ahead. And so, again, Piazza compiled all those 3 surveillance videos and cell phone video into one big compilation that we did see in court today. And basically, the end of the day, these are videos that the jury can rely upon. They're authentic. It purports to show what it purports to show. And there was a lot of pre-trial litigation about this. Even the defense wanted to make sure that these videos wouldn't come in because they said that there was a chance they were manipulated or altered or distorted in some way. Was there anything specific about the compilation that stood out to you? Yeah. Well, the compilation in its entirety, including the black frames that were kind of put into the video, so that way the jurors could realize that, okay, a camera is about to cut to another position in the surveillance video. But altogether, the total runtime, or TRT as we call it in the biz, was 11 minutes and 53 seconds. So the first 10 seconds is something we've all seen. Cassie with her black bag walking down the hallway in the direction of the camera. The next 20 seconds captures multiple angles of Cassie walking down the hallway. You can see the black frames kind of within those first 30 seconds start to show, which again shows, that these cameras are switching around. So in the next 4 minutes of this video, we see Diddy running down the hallway, and then it's something that we've all seen, before at this point. It's him kicking, punching, dragging Cassie. Diddy grabs, Cassie's bags. Cassie, makes a call using the hotel line, kind of over off the, wall near that elevator banger or elevator lobby. Then we see Diddy walking back to the hotel room. He reemerges without the bags. He grabs the cell phone from Cassie, throws the base at Cassie. Again, things that we've already seen before. Cassie using the hotel phone. Diddy says something to her because when this video is playing, even though, it's a mixture of the surveillance video as well as the cell phone video, we're not hearing any type of audio. So we don't know what is being said, between the two parties. Even when Officer Flores arrives, in this next portion, we don't hear what he's saying, although when he was testifying, he explained that he was kind of zooming in to see his shoes and how shiny they were, but we didn't hear that when, the video played today. So after Officer Flores arrives, both Flores and Cassie are telling Diddy something. Again, we're not able to hear it. Then we see that zoom in into Officer Flores's shoes. Cassie walks away. Flores makes a call on that same hotel phone, and then that's the end of the cell phone video. Then Diddy reappears in the hallway. Israel Flores is following behind him. Then you see Diddy and Israel Flores talking in that hallway, and then Cassie reemerges on the other side of the hallway on the opposite side, goes towards the hotel room. Then you see Cassie, Diddy, Israel Flores go off camera. Then Cassie reemerges with her bags. Then Israel Flores reemerges. Then Diddy reemerges holding a cell phone. And the end of the clip, and again, this is an 11-minute video. I kind of just compiled it all together. The end of the clip, you see Diddy, putting a cell phone to his ear, and then the video ends. And so, while, on the stand, Frank Piazza was explaining that either Diddy was making a call or he was receiving a call one way or the other. We see the video end with Diddy on the phone on his cell phone, and the jury will have to be tasked with, is that consistent with what Cassie testified to and maybe what others have testified to? And again, it seems like it shows what we all think it shows. Although I was curious what the cross-examination was going to be. What was the defense going to question him about? And I understand that defense attorney Tenny Garagos questioned him. What exactly did she question him about? What was the strategy there? Yeah. So it seemed like really the focus of the cross-examination of Frank Piazza was the timestamps. First, Tiny Garros. She was discussing what is your understanding of the source of the video and how they came into your possession. Piazza says that the surveillance video was exported from the native system, and then the cell phone video was a recording of the native system, kind of confirming what Officer Israel Flores says. But I think the big mystery is where the surveillance video was actually sourced from. And according to Piazza, he wasn't sure how the surveillance video came into the government's possession. But as far as just more of the cross-examination, we do see an exhibit of the same hotel video showing Cassie in that elevator bank or lobby. But what's interesting is during the cross-examination is that Tenny Garagos isn't referring to the male or the female seen on the video as Cassandra Ventura or Cassie, or the male being Sean Combs or Diddy or PD or Love or anything like that. Instead, it's just the male in the video, the female in the video, not using their real names. But going back to the timestamp issue, you see the timestamp kind of jump. It says that 2 minutes and 15 seconds are played throughout this entire duration of the video. However, the video itself was about 3 minutes long. And then you see one timestamp jump from 10:50 to 10:56. And Frank Piazza was explaining that when the video gets pixelated, that's when you kind of see the timestamp jump. And that, I guess within the system, it kind of corrects itself. But the time code was kind of struggling. But if you count the frames, the system is constantly correcting itself. So then you see another timestamp issue where it jumps from 11:57 to 12:08. And in that particular one, you see Diddy kind of holding Cassie's bags in that elevator bank or elevator lobby, and then next thing you know, they're just suddenly on the ground. And so, Frank Piazza was explaining it's not uncommon for this to happen for security systems. He was explaining that the system's motion that it's getting will kind of make that change. And while the female, aka Cassie, was standing in the corner, there wasn't much movement. So the system's not kind of picking up on the fact that there is movement. There is human beings in there who are breathing and moving along, but instead, because they're kind of standing still in this position, the camera's not capturing that particular moment. And that kind of accounts for why that you see this sudden time jump. And so then they got more into the timestamps jumping again, and it was really kind of just like, it seemed like we were going frame by frame, seconds by seconds, where you're just kind of seeing just these different instances of the time jumping. But according to Frank Piazza, he maintained that that this was kind of a clear and accurate depiction. And again, he had those black frames kind of embedded in between the different camera shots kind of changing. So it seems like when the jury does go back for deliberations, instead of having the entire exhibits in different pieces and different chunks, they're able to just watch this 11-minute and 53-second video to kind of see it all come together. And again, to your point, Jesse, the defense didn't want the compilation video to be going back with the jury for their deliberations. They just wanted the government to use it as a demonstrative, but the judge ruled that it will go back with the jury once we eventually get to deliberations on this. And the relevance of this, of course, is for the prosecution. They want to say this is evidence of Combs using force to essentially coerce Cassandra Ventura into sex trafficking that she had just left a freak off, that he's literally dragging her back in the direction of the room. So if you're talking about sex work, and she had claimed that Jules, one of these male escorts who they had been used in multiple cities, and Cassie Ventura was allegedly forced into freak-offs in multiple places, that you have violence, you have sex work, you have a travel component. It's all sex trafficking. Whereas the defense will say, this is a really unfortunate episode, but it is an episode of domestic violence that show that Cassie is not a victim of sex trafficking, but perhaps a victim of an unfortunate, tragic, toxic relationship filled with jealousy and anger and a lack of trust. So at the end of the day, I think maybe the jury's going to say, okay, we see what this is, but what's the context of it? What does it exactly prove? But that wasn't the only footage that came into play today. Didn't this expert also review sex tape videos? I mean, were they videos of freak-offs? Well, we presume them to be videos of freak-offs because of the judge's kind of order going on. We in the gallery didn't see the this particular footage. And from my understanding, I don't believe the jurors saw this footage either. But it's something that they already know about because they've seen screenshots of these freak-off videos or sexually explicit videos. But as far as the videos go and how Frank Piazza played a role into that, he worked on about 10 sexually explicit videos or freak-off videos, as we presumed them to be. So what we saw inside the gallery was just this stipulation between parties, And just a little bit more just about these videos were turned over by one of Cassie's devices, but from under the Frank Black user account. And so these videos go back to October 8th of 2014, December 4th of 2014, October 14th of 2012, as well as October 20th of 2012. And so as far as Frank Piazza's role in just kind of enhancing these particular sex videos, as he calls them, he says his role was to enhance the sound or the audio of them. And so these exhibits were admitted under seal, but we didn't see the videos. We didn't hear the video. So although Frank Piazza says he worked on the sound, it was nothing that it was like played in open court for us to hear. But these videos were admitted, and again, I confirmed kind of in my notes here that they didn't play these for the jury during the testimony. And that's kind of when the direct testimony had ended for Frank Piazza. So quite the digital evidence day, but we have to now move on to the next witness. So this was Brianna Bangolan. This is somebody we've heard about before during the course of this trial. This is somebody who actually filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs. We talked about her previously on Law and Crime, very close friend of Cassie Ventura, and she accused Sean Combs of violently assaulting her. Elizabeth, I'm going to allow you to jump into the details here, but she describes this terrifying balcony incident. So who exactly is she? I mean, what is her connection to Combs and Cassie, and what did she say about this balcony incident? Yeah. So, Bona was a witness that I kind of was interested in hearing what she had to say on the witness stand because I had covered, her lawsuit when she had filed it just last year, or honestly, maybe a few months ago at this point. Everything's kind of blending together. But, she had explained that, yes, Diddy did allegedly hold her over, this 7th-story balcony over at Cassie's apartment, in Los Angeles. And so, as far as kind of her connection to Cassie, her and Cassie are friends. Yes. And that she would hang out with Cassie at Cassie's L.A. apartment. They would work on designs together. They would talk about things that they were doing. But she also admitted that the two would do drugs together, something that Cassie had explained during her testimony, and that they would do drugs such as weed and cocaine and ketamine, and it became a habit. And so, she was explaining that normally kind of their core group, it seemed like, was Carrie Morgan, who was a witness in this case, Deontay Nash also a witness, but also a producer named Rob Holliday, and how they would always hang out together. And so we start to get into the exhibit photos where we see kind of that friendship kind of show as far as the jury kind of seeing the connection between Cassie and Bona. You see Cassie and Bona shopping together in 2016. What was interesting about this particular exhibit, Jesse, was that Diddy wasn't with them during this shopping trip that they did together. But Diddy, according to Vanna's testimony today, was asking where Cassie was, and that Cassie ended up showing Vanna just this list of places that they had been to. But that Cassie never revealed to Diddy that they had been to these particular places. Instead, he just kind of was like, you've been here, and here. We didn't see that as an exhibit or anything like that, but Bono was a little like, okay, that's a little weird of why that's kind of happening. And so, as far as everything else that she's witnessed, she explained that she's seen in one instance Diddy throwing a knife at Cassie's direction, how Cassie and Bia FaceTimed after Cassie had a black eye ahead of the Perfect Match premiere. So we presume it to be after the hotel incident. But as far as Bona herself, she explained that Dia did something to her too, and this happened in September of 2016. Bonet was over at Cassie's apartment, and her apartment was on the SE, or her apartment or condo was on the 17th floor. So we see an exhibit photo of Cassie's then apartment. Cassie was there at her place. So was Banna, and Banna's then girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend. And so Banna was explaining that she was sleeping. Diddy came to Cassie's front door and began banging on the door. Vanna got super stressed out when Diddy began banging on this door. So Vanna rushed to hide her now ex-girlfriend into the bathroom. She closed the bathroom door and then she went to the balcony. And so BA was explaining that she was trying to find a blunt, a marijuana blunt, and light this blunt to act casual when she was on the balcony. So then we see an exhibit photo, that being the 17-story balcony, where you can actually see the ledge. And so the prosecution was asking Bona just about her height and her weight, where she explained she's 5'1". Around that time, because of the drug use, she explained on the stand that she weighed 100 to 115 lbs and that the ledge itself on Cassie's balcony only goes to Bona's waist. And so she said she was able to kind of lean over across this rail, but then all of a sudden she's lifted up by her armpits and Vanna's feet were on the rail and she was kind of trying to push herself to keep herself from falling. And the person who was holding her up was Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff, a.k.a. Diddy. And so Bono was explaining that Diddy was yelling at her very loudly, saying something along the lines of, "You know what the F you did," and said it multiple times. And she had no idea what he was even talking about. Even today in 2025, she says she has no idea still what he was talking about. And so she explained that she didn't know necessarily how long he was holding her up. But she said because he said, "You know what the F did," so many times. She estimates that it's around 10 to 15 seconds, and then he threw her onto the furniture. And so Bona said she didn't know she was actually injured around the time. Then Cassie comes out of her room. She seemed in disbelieved and said something along the lines of, "Cassie said this to Diddy. Did you just hang her over the balcony?" And so Cassie told Diddy that Vanna's girlfriend, or now ex-girlfriend, was in her condo at the time, and Diddy ended up leaving. And Vanna explained that he left swiftly after learning that her then-girlfriend was inside, the condo. And so then Vanna ended up leaving Cassie's apartment to